could the cosmos itself possess some form of awareness? It's one of those questions, isn't it? Seems more suited for late-night philosophy talks than hard science.
Definitely. It pushes boundaries.
But today, we're actually going to venture into that territory. Not just, idly speculating, but looking at scientific frameworks that might touch on this. We're drawing on some really thought-provoking material that you, our listener, provided.
Yes, the sources you shared get into some fascinating ideas, especially from thinkers like Giulio Tononi and Christoph Koch, and also this older concept, panpsychism.
Right.
So our goal in this deep dive is really to examine these scientific angles, look at the arguments for and maybe against a conscious universe, and just sort of grapple with what it all means.
Okay, so let's start by unpacking that basic idea that the universe might have a consciousness separate from ours. This isn't exactly a new thought, is it? The material mentions its history, and this concept, panpsychism, jumped out at me.
Ah, yes, panpsychism. That's a really important starting point. It's the idea that consciousness, or something mind-like, isn't just for complex brains like ours, but it's a fundamental property of matter itself.
So everywhere, in everything.
Potentially, yes, in varying degrees. And as the material points out, this resonates through a lot of history. Ancient philosophies, religious traditions. Think about concepts like a universal divine consciousness, or Brahman in Hinduism, this ultimate reality that is consciousness, or even in Buddhism, where reality is often seen as fundamentally mental.
And it's not just ancient history. It seems even well-respected scientists have considered it. Freeman Dyson, the theoretical physicist, the material says he speculated about the universe having its own consciousness.
He did entertain the idea, yes.
Yeah.
Coming from someone like Dyson with his scientific background, it certainly makes you pause and consider it more seriously than you might otherwise.
It adds a layer of intellectual weight.
It definitely does. But,
Yeah.
okay, to move from philosophy towards something more scientific, we need a definition of consciousness we can actually work with, right?
Ooh.
Exactly. And the material brings in Giulio Tononi's integrated information theory, or IIT. The core idea there is that consciousness is linked to how much information a system can integrate. Basically, how much control it has over itself and its surroundings, its causal power.
Causal power, okay.
What's useful about this framework is it gives us a potential way to maybe quantify consciousness, and importantly, to distinguish it from just, raw intelligence or information processing.
That difference seems key. We see incredibly powerful AI now, systems that can calculate, play games, even write code better than humans in some cases. But under Tononi's view, these systems, however smart, might lack that crucial integrated information. They don't have a subjective experience, a will of their own. Their actions are just algorithms.
Precisely. The example used in the sources, a supercomputer run by a programmer, illustrates this well. It processes huge amounts of data, performs complex tasks, but it doesn't have that what it's like feeling. It doesn't have subjective awareness or genuine autonomy like a conscious biological creature does. According to Tononi, its integrated information would be low because its state is mostly dictated from the outside.
Okay, so if we accept this link between consciousness, integrated information, and causal power, the material then suggests a kind of hierarchy.
Yes.
Different things could have different levels of consciousness, like a rock would have almost none, maybe a tree a tiny bit more, a worm more still, than a cat, a human, and maybe, just maybe, the universe at the top. Is the idea that more complexity and connection allows for more integrated information?
That seems to be the underlying principle, yes. And this is where the analogy with the brain comes in, which is, we should stress, a speculative part of the argument for a conscious universe.
Right. The brain analogy.
In biology, especially with mammals, the standard view in neuroscience is that consciousness isn't located in one spot, but it emerges from the incredibly complex network of neurons, billions of them, firing, communicating electrochemically. The sheer density and complexity of these connections are thought to create subjective experience. How integrated that network is likely key to the level of consciousness. It's not the individual neurons, but the whole system working together.
And here's where it gets really, really big picture. The sources draw a parallel between that brain network and the network of galaxies in the universe. Hundreds of billions of galaxies spread across cosmic differences. The scale is just mind-boggling. Does that mean cosmic emergence is possible?
It's a very thought-provoking comparison, no doubt.
Yeah.
The universe does have a large-scale structure, galaxies in clusters and filaments, connected by gravity, this cosmic web. But we have to be careful with the analogy. It's useful but limited. The interactions are fundamentally different, right? Neurons use electrochemical signals. We understand those reasonably well. Galaxies interact primarily through gravity. So the big question is Could there be some other kind of information exchange happening across the cosmos that we don't know about? Something that could lead to integrated information, like in a brain.
Which leads straight into the stuff about black holes, doesn't it? The material points out there's a supermassive black hole at the center of pretty much every big galaxy, and it draws another parallel. The black hole as the nucleus of a brain cell. But the thing is, we don't really understand what happens inside a black hole, do we? Especially at the singularity. Our physics kind of stops working there.
That's putting it mildly. It's a huge gap in our knowledge. General relativity, quantum mechanics, our best theories break down at the singularity, that point of infinite density. Space-time as we know it just ends.
So it's a genuine unknown.
Absolutely. And it's in that space of the unknown where these very theoretical, very speculative ideas can arise. We have to be clear about what's established physics versus these more, shall we say, fringe concepts.
Okay, so the material dives into that speculation. It floats this idea that maybe these supermassive black holes are connected somehow. Quantum entanglement.
Yeah.
Some other physics we haven't discovered yet.
Highly speculative mechanisms, yes.
And if they were connected and if they could send information between them across the universe, could that network of black holes act like a giant information processor? Could it give rise to some kind of, I don't know, super consciousness?
It's a fascinating thought experiment, really pushing the limits. The sources themselves rightly flag this as extremely speculative. If you had potentially trillions of black holes interconnected and exchanging information, you could theoretically imagine a system with enormous information processing power, maybe immense integrated information, far beyond any biological brain. Whether that would be consciousness in Tononi's sense or any sense we'd recognize, well, that's a massive leap. It remains firmly in the realm of speculation.
Okay, but then the discussion shifts gears a bit. It asks a more basic question, maybe one we can actually tackle with current science. Does the universe even need to be conscious? Did it require consciousness to evolve the way it did, to reduce galaxies, stars, life, us?
That's a crucial question. And from the standard scientific viewpoint, the answer is largely no. The prevailing model suggests that the universe's evolution, from the Big Bang onwards, forming structures, stars, planets, life emerging on Earth, can be explained pretty well by known physical laws acting over billions of years. Gravity, thermodynamics, nuclear forces, chemistry, biology.
So no conductor needed for the orchestra.
Essentially, yes. There's currently no direct empirical evidence suggesting a conscious director was necessary for things to unfold the way they did. Our cosmological models work based on these natural laws.
Of course, the actual origin of the Big Bang itself, that's still a huge mystery. The material concedes we can't completely rule out something conscious playing a role right at the very beginning, setting the laws or initial conditions.
True, the ultimate origin is unknown. But, and this is important, jumping from unknown to, therefore, a conscious entity did it without evidence or a testable scientific idea is, well, it's faith or philosophy, not science. It's just as possible, scientifically speaking, that the origin lies in physics we haven't discovered yet.
Right. Evidence is key.
Exactly. And if we look at everything after the initial moment of the Big Bang, the expansion, cooling, formation of atoms, then stars and galaxies, these processes are quite well described by physics like general relativity and quantum mechanics. And those laws, as we understand them, don't seem to require consciousness to operate. They just are.
So, the universe unfolding according to its rules doesn't imply the rules themselves are conscious, or that there's a conscious rule follower guiding it all.
That's the standard scientific take, yes. While cosmology has many open questions, the answers are generally sought within natural, non-conscious mechanisms.
Okay, the material then brings in another way to think about consciousness from the neuroscientist Christoph Koch. His definition seems more focused on behavior.
Yes, Koch links consciousness in biological organisms more closely to their ability to change their behavior when faced with new situations. Adaptability as a sign of consciousness.
So even simpler things could qualify, like a plant turning to the sun or a microbe moving towards food. That's a kind of basic consciousness under this view.
Potentially, yes. It's about an organism modifying its actions based on new information to achieve a goal, even a simple one. It emphasizes flexible, adaptive responses.
Right, so if we take Koch's definition consciousness as adaptive behavior and apply that to the universe as a whole, does the universe adapt? Does it change its behavior based on new circumstances?
Well, based on everything we observe, the fundamental laws of physics seem incredibly stable and uniform everywhere across billions of years.
They don't seem to be changing.
No. The universe is dynamic, things move, stars are born and die, galaxies merge. But the underlying rules seem fixed. We don't see the universe, say, changing the law of gravity because it encountered something unexpected. There's no evidence of the cosmos itself making adaptive choices like a biological organism does.
Even things like dark matter and dark energy, which we don't fully understand, they still seem to follow consistent patterns, right? We can model them.
Exactly. They present mysteries, but their behavior appears predictable within certain models, not arbitrary or adaptive in the way Koch means.
So under Koch's definition, while creatures within the universe show consciousness through adaptation, the universe itself doesn't seem to fit that description based on current evidence.
That seems to be the case. The consistency of physical law argues against that kind of cosmic consciousness. If the universe were making conscious choices, we might expect the fundamental rules themselves to be, well, less fundamental, more changeable, and we just don't observe that.
Okay. This leads us nicely into one of the biggest and most debated topics: the fine-tuning of the universe. The source material lays this out clearly.
Ah, yes, the fine-tuning puzzle.
It's the observation that the basic rules and numbers of physics, the strength of gravity, the initial amount of disorder or entropy, the masses of particles seem to be set just right. If they were even slightly different, the universe might be completely sterile. No galaxies, no stars, no planets, certainly no life like us.
It is a striking observation. The parameters seem exquisitely balanced for complexity and life to emerge. It feels improbable, doesn't it, that things just happen to fall into place so perfectly.
It really does, and the sources outline the main ways people try to explain this apparent just rightness.
Correct. There are broadly three main lines of thought here.
Okay, let's run through them. First, there's the theistic argument.
Right. This interprets the fine-tuning as direct evidence of a creator, an intelligent designer God, essentially who set the dials specifically to allow for life, perhaps even for us.
Second, kind of related but different, is the panpsychist view we touched on earlier.
Yes, in this context, it suggests that maybe a conscious universe itself set up its own laws at the beginning, perhaps to maximize its own potential for value or complexity or experience, not an external creator, but the universe itself having some intention.
Interesting twist. And the third main category.
That covers the materialist or naturalistic explanations. The most prominent one here is the multiverse hypothesis.
The idea that our universe isn't the only one.
Exactly. Perhaps there's a huge ensemble, maybe an infinite number, of other universes, and each one has randomly different physical laws and constants. If that's the case, then it's not surprising that some universes, purely by chance, would happen to have the right conditions for life.
And we naturally find ourselves in one of those universes because we couldn't exist in the others to observe them.
That's the anthropic principle aspect of it, yes. Our existence becomes a kind of selection effect. In this view, there's no need for a designer or a conscious universe. It's just statistics playing out on a cosmic scale. We're in one of the universes that won the cosmic lottery.
It's fascinating how this question, could the universe be conscious, connects to these really deep questions about reality, origins, and why we're even here. We've covered a lot of ground.
We certainly have. From defining consciousness with integrated information, to the brain-universe analogy, however speculative, to asking if consciousness is even needed for cosmic evolution, and finally wrestling with this fine-tuning argument.
We looked at consciousness maybe being fundamental, panpsychism, versus it being an emergent property of complex systems like brains, and explored different interpretations of why the universe seems so fit for life.
From divine design to a self-aware cosmos, to the vastness of a possible multiverse.
So here's a final thought, something I really want you, our listener, to chew on. We have this scientific understanding of emergence, how complexity can create entirely new properties, like consciousness seemingly arising from neurons. And we have this puzzle of the universe's fine-tuning with all these different possible explanations.
Right.
Given all that, what does the possibility, or maybe the impossibility, of a wider cosmic consciousness actually tell us about our own place, about our own significance or lack thereof, and how we understand this massive, mysterious reality we find ourselves in?
It definitely leaves you thinking, doesn't it, about the nature of reality and our connection to it all.
Plenty to ponder there.